South Africans literally rejected us. The removal of the mayor of Tshwane have genuinely exposed and undressed those that believe they've got the birthright to govern. Some of the media houses are hired guns. The DA is not a branch of the ANC. Helen Zille is not a member of the ANC.
Spread the fire. Welcome back to SMWX, and today I am extremely honored and excited to invite, by popular demand of this audience, Premier of the Gauteng province and one of the most interesting and fascinating people on South Africa's political scene, none other than Panyaza Lesufi. Thank you very much, Premier, for joining us. It's a great privilege to have you.
Thank you so much, Caesar. I read you this podcast thing, but because of you, I'm persuaded. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it, and thanks for the hospitality and the warm welcome from your team as well.
No, we know how precious your time is, and I've been watching you on the political scene for a long time and admiring what you're doing.
Thank you.
But before we get there, not much is known about your upbringing and how you came into politics. We knew when you came onto the scene in the education space, but tell us about your upbringing and what led you down the political path.
Well, thank you. Where do I start? I was born in an area called Edenvale. I'm told by my parents, because I was very young, I was not aware of this, and they were evicted by the then apartheid regime. You will recall there's something called the Group Areas Act. So Edenvale was in the middle of an urban area for white citizens of our country. So my parents, I'm told, a few days after being born, they were forcefully evicted to go to Tembisa. And that's where when I started to be somebody in life, my surroundings was Tembisa, the packet system, dusty streets, and all these particular things. So I'm a football fanatic, and that's the reason why my name Panyaza. So I enjoyed football from my tender age. There was a player by the name of Andries Panyaza Maseko. I was named after him because I was told my football was similar to his style. So football was my life. I would leave family events to go and watch football, school holidays, football. And so I enjoyed football a lot. But when I went to what is now known grade 1, my mom was alerted that unlike other children, I need to attend a special medical clinic for because they don't understand there's something that they feel that they need medical attention on a weekly basis. And I asked Mom, what's wrong, Mom? And my mom indicated that during her pregnancy, I think someone blasted her with football. So it might have had some complications. So I was therefore requested to every Wednesday, my mom to take me to the clinic. I think it started as a irritation, but later on, I started to appreciate this brave woman who went through this pregnancy, and she still continues to, without any fail, every Wednesday, pick me up at school, take me to the clinic, drop me back, and we'll walk long distance. But it's only when I was about to take my first, at that time it was a Dompas ID document, that I started to realize that this is not a normal world, because my father says to me, now you're about to be a gentleman, so let's go and take an ID photo, because every time you go to town, police will stop you. I mean, at one stage, I was in town and they asked me for an identity document. I didn't have it, so they removed one shoe. So I had to go back to the train wearing one shoe, and people were just surprised. I mean, but that was the punishment that the regime at that stage was exercising on us. So when I went to take the ID document, reality hit me, Sizwe, to be quite frank. I see this train, there's a train from Pretoria to Germiston. I see this train, the first, say, 6-5 coaches are literally empty. And the next coaches are full, people hanging over the door handles and all other things. So I said to my father, but I saw that side, it's empty.
Yeah.
Can't we go that side? And he said, no, that side is a no-go area. And I asked, why? He said, no, it's no-go area. Can you see everyone is here? You can't go that side. Initially, I thought it's expensive. But when we arrived in Germiston, which is the second reality that struck me. So, I mean, to me, my father was everything. I respected him, was a gentleman. And when he requested the forms so that he can fill the forms, the way they were thrown at him, the way the pen was thrown at, the way he was shouted, I felt it can't be normal. I mean, this is the person when at home, whatever that I'm doing, I bow down to his authority. He's my father. He's this gentleman, always neat, always in his suits. But he's been mishandled by very young white people and shouting at him and everything. And when I asked why, there's no Ubuntu, why are these people not treating us the way you have been teaching us, that you must treat people, elderly people, with respect? I said, no, that's how things are. That's the way things are. And I just said, no, it can't be. But also when I was young, I had a keen interest in horse racing, because at that time it was the only sport or gambling where black people were allowed.
Right.
It was huge. I mean, horse betting was massive. So because I was a little bit learned, I must say, because I was either in standard 8 or... So when they read the newspapers, they'll call me, elderly people. Hey, there's a kutsi, there was this horse. So I'll look for it, and they'll ask me how many races it has won and other. And I could see that the community has invested in this sport. And every time I read people that are riding these horses, I don't see a familiar surname. It's Afrikaner surnames or Kutsie or all these things. So I took upon myself to say, man, these people can't continue to bet horses with these surnames. Let me go and train so that I can also ride these horses and they can bet me because they will trust me. So I went to Tshwane. I said, no, I want to be a jockey. They said, no. Well, obviously, they use my height to say, no, jockeys must be short, because at least I was thin. They said, it must be thin, short, weigh this. I met the weight average, but they claimed I was tall. But later I realized that the horse jockeys at that time, it's white people only. No one is allowed to ride horses. So then and you know, when I at school, everyone asks you, when you grow up, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be superintendent. Superintendent is what is called municipal managers now. But during apartheid system, you'll have a white person being a superintendent of a township. So there's a white person that was a superintendent for Tembisa.
Right.
So they used to call those people super. It's just abbreviation for superintendent. So I said, I want to be a super. And they said, no, you can't be, because superintendent are only white people. I just said, man, this white thing is following me everywhere.
Everywhere I go.
Everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I'm told about this. Then my brother, my elder brother, Nix Lesufi, was at the University of Teflop at that time. And we're looking forward for him to graduate studying. And my parents, literally, every cent that we had in the family, they will invest on him to say he must finish his studies. And after finishing his studies, then he will assist all of us. We understood. So whatever money my father had, we'll say, we're giving it to your brother so that your brother can study. So for 3 months, we couldn't trace my brother. We didn't know where he was. Was told there was a protest at the university. He was arrested. We go to police station. They can't trace him. And I asked, why can't we trace him? He said, no, white people took him. And I just said, no, this whiteness is following me now. It undermined my dad. It undermined my career. Now it's taken the last hope that our family was betting on. So it's quite clear this thing must be challenged. So then there was a student leader in Tembisa called Kennedy Nkwana. He came to my place and said, hey, bro, your brother has vanished. You don't know where he is. So you must join us to fight this regime. No, fight what? He said, no. We will tell you, we'll train you. I mean, at that time, I was 16, 17 years. And said, no, join. So I joined. Meetings at night, secret meetings. Then I went to a high school called Buitumelong, secondary school in Tembisa. Unanimously, student elected me to be a secretary of the SRC. Susan will be shocked. I didn't know what the secretary does. But they overwhelmed me because at that time, they felt that here is someone very intelligent, obedient, is now going to be our leader. So let's give him all the necessary support. I remember one SRC meeting. So I asked the guy that recruited me in the underground structures to say, hey man, they say I'm a secretary, what do you do? He said, no, it take minutes. Then I took my watch out. Every time somebody speak, I write the name Sizwe. We spoke 7 minutes. Samson, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So in the next meeting, they asked me, read the minutes. And I went, Sizwe, 7.
Yeah, 7.
Everyone. So that was my baptism of politics.
Wow, yeah.
Because I was a member of the SRC, I was then arrested by the apartheid regime.
What year was that? Roughly?
That is 1988.
Sure.
I was arrested by the apartheid regime for, say, I was disrupting students. There was a huge student boycott. There was a huge student uprisings at that time. So I was arrested, taken to Modabi prison. Those that were arrested with me, they were taken straight to prison beside myself. And the police then asked me about my brother. Where's your brother? So no, my parents told me, you guys took him. I don't know him. I don't know where he is. No, you'll tell us where your brother is. And I found it very strange that these guys are the one that took my brother. Then they are asking me where my brother is. My assumption is that they wanted to know whether indeed I'm aware where my brother is, whether my brother is sharing at that time communist information with me and other things. And innocently, I didn't know. So they took me to an open grave in Tembisa around 2 a.m. They started to fill the grave. I'm standing and they're filling the grave. And then you've got these spotlights from the car. So everyone is filling the grave. And I'm standing tall. I mean, after it's here, you can't even move. So, and they realize that indeed this guy does not know where his brother is. Because I'm told by those that have gone through this torture that by the time the soil is around here, you will automatically confess And because I didn't confess, and honestly, I didn't know where my brother was. So they felt that, no, it's true. This guy doesn't know anything. Then I was taken to prison, put in a solitary confinement, 24 hours, nothing. I mean, the only thing I see is bottles and the wall full of blood, lots of empty bottles. I only realized late that those bottles are meant to be when I want to go to bathroom, I must use them. I mean, the bottle, and I mean, if you have to do the other part of the bathroom, I mean, you can't. So I felt humiliated, undermined, and I felt this system can't be human.
Yeah.
It can't be human. And I think it planted that seed for me. And so there was an outcry. There was an outcry that this young man committed respectful is arrested. So society started to demand for my release. That's why I met people like David Webster.
Wow.
There was a support group for political detainees. So they came, give us tracksuits in prison, demanded to see us. And because no one knew where I was, everyone was arrested, taken to prison. I'm alone, solitary confinement. So there was this huge outcry that my brother is missing, now I'm missing. So the family was starting to panic, to say, but Declare, where is he? And I'm indebted to a gentleman called Krishna Naidu. He was in the cricket field. He was a lawyer of the ANC. And at that time, with people like Beyers Nodie, Bishop Dudu, they demanded that political prisoners should be released. And amongst those campaigns, my name was there, that they must identify me. So then the regime was forced to produce me, and they did. Then they released me and took me into the normal police cells, and family then came to visit me. But unfortunately, it was from the frying pan to literally to the fire, because when I went to the police cell where everyone is, they started the hunger strike. I mean, I was alone there.
You were probably saying, no, just have one day and then we'll do the...
Then I'm in the middle of a hunger strike. I don't remember. I don't forget this day. It was on the 10th of December. I'm told it's an International Human Rights Day. So there were then campaigns to celebrate the International Human Rights Day. And on the 10th of December, the apartheid regime was under this pressure, and there was this boycott. At that time, they've declared the state of emergency. So they said they've arrested me under the state of emergency regulation. So they were forced to release us. And after they released me, my parents felt, no, this one is going to be another politician. Fortunately, when I was in prison, I wrote my matric.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember, because at that time, matric was about to start when they arrested me, but I wrote some few subjects. The only subject, and I hope it will interest you, the only subject that I didn't write was Afrikaans. But all the subjects, I wrote them, and surprisingly, they gave me 40% in Afrikaans. I don't know why. But others, I passed them beautifully with B, C, and all these things.
Wow, from prison.
Yes, from prison. So when I was released, my parents felt, this one must ship him out. And they didn't know that taking me to somebody that I admire. So they shipped me to Natal to go and study at the University of Natal.
I see.
So many people then started to feel that this is a guy that we should support and all other things. So we're going towards the 90s, and then I was supported by lots and lots of comrades, and then they took me to Natal. And in Natal, I joined the SRC, I joined politics, and that's how politics invaded my life.
Wow.
I became the president of the SRC there as well. But during university holidays, where people are placed in companies to do experimental work, I will still be in the underground structures of defense unit. And when they start to look for me, dash back to university. And I met a person that, I must be honest, shaped and sharpened my political orientation, my political thinking, because he appreciated me. He just felt, we just connected from nowhere. It's the late Harry Kwala. At that time, he was just been released from Robben Island, hands paralyzed. So when he was free, he will visit the university. And when I come from the lecture rooms, they will come to me and say, man, there's an old man waiting for you. So he invested his time in imparting what I can say is political education, because I studied business administration.
Right.
I enjoyed that. I'll explain that later on. But I enjoyed that. So I was an accounting student or a commerce student. So he felt I lack the political understanding, and he really spent his time to really teach me.
What were some of the things that you learned from him as such an important...
Lenin, Marxism. At that time, actually, there was the fall of what at that time they called socialism. And he said to me, and I won't forget that part, he said that, people say the fall of socialism is because socialism is not democratic. He said socialism, by its own explanation, is inherently democratic. So you can argue otherwise, but you can't claim that socialism is not democratic. He said it's inherently democratic. Its establishment, its practice, its formation. So he really felt that that socialism is the future. And his influence, I remember when the first branch of the Communist Party was opened in Durban, the secretary of the party in that branch was former Minister Jeff Radebe. I was one of the first people to join that branch because of the influence of the old man. I've been a member of the Communist Party up until now.
Fam, I just wanted to interrupt this episode to let you know the 4 ways you can help SMWX. Way number 1, you can invite me to speak at your institution or company. Way number 2, you can advertise on this channel. Way number 3, you can become a member of this channel. The link to the membership is down below. And number 4, you can buy merch, that's books or hoodies. Now let's get back to the episode. All our contact details are in the description box below. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, you've shared so much that I didn't know about you. And it just goes to show, number 1, how much of apartheid we still haven't fully reckoned with as a society.
Indeed.
We don't know the full extent of the stories and how much those traumas are still with us,
Indeed.
Walking with our leaders and people around us like you who were literally in those jail cells. I just don't know how you did your matric. And like, can you take us into that?
Yes,
like
I can.
You're in prison for political activism, but you still have to study.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Let me explain it. I was at Boitumelong. So when I was arrested for being the secretary of the SRC, the school expelled me. Said, no, this one, now that has been arrested by the apartheid regime, is going to influence kids. So, but we're many. I think almost 80, 90 of us were expelled. So Beyers Nodier, Frank Chikani, David Webster, and that grouping established a school for political detainees.
I see.
Using Khotso House and the South African Council of Churches. So we wrote with that institution. But when I was arrested, then when they come to visit us, then they will bring material, study. So I'm indebted to them. But majority of my subject, we wrote them when we were outside, and then it's only few that we couldn't write. And then on the basis of that, the apartheid regime, I think, was tired with me because they just felt if we can make him to fail this Afrikaans, it means they have to come back. We'll have the runarounds again. So they just give him 40% in Afrikaans and ask him to go away from the schooling environment. But it was, I don't know, and that is why my interest in politics started within the education space. I loved education. I even when it was difficult to write, even when the police arrested me, I could not finish schooling in the normal schooling environment before Bishop Tutu, Frank Chikani, Beyers Nodi established this school, and majority of our comrades, I think, went to that school. So you could sense that education is important, and I'm really indebted to them because even when I was recruited many times to go and join Umkhonto Wesizwe underground and go exiled so that I can fight, so that my brother can come back. I had this love for education. So even if I missed the class, I could feel it that today I didn't go to a class. So the following day I will ensure that I go to a class. And when those that came to recruit us to go to exile and joined the military wing of the ANC, they didn't tell us. They came to say, no, there is a community meeting. And when we were closer to the Botswana border, and I could sense that, and I told the commander, if you are going to exile, please, I'm for education. I want to conclude my education first, and after that, then. And that commander was touched to say, hey man, this one, at least he loves education. So maybe let's not deny him that thing. And they arranged to get somebody to bring him back. So education has been something that I appreciated from my tender age. And it was not surprising that even when in prison, we continued with education and ensured that we get a university pass.
What position did you play in soccer?
No, I was told I was a striker, number 9. But when I left football, unfortunately, I don't know, those that grew with me will know the name JMC. It was a certain board that, apartheid was so organized. So we left football, and I don't know, they felt that football may influence us otherwise. I don't know why.
Yeah, but
so they promoted something called break dancing.
Right.
Big time.
Okay.
They invested in it. So break dancing became big. I know at that time there was and I'm not sure it's British or singer called George Michael. So we're made to look like him, George Michael Jackson. So they brought breakdancing to pull us out of soccer and enjoy this thing with huge stereo, your hair painted and lumberjack. I just felt, no, this is not mine. I can't do this. But those that I was playing football with joined and became part of this. So because you can't play football alone. You need friends. So that disrupted my football career badly. But when I went to university, I tried, but because I spent most time not playing, so if you can be a keeper. When you can't play, they make you a keeper. So I didn't like to be a keeper. And that part of me died. And I ended up, somebody just gave me a cassette of Mzwakhe Mbuli's poetry. Wow. Wow. That cemented my political understanding. Mzwakhe's poetry at that time was just a bomb. And then I started to recite poetry. Actually, many people that studied with me at the University of Natal, they will tell you, no. They called me Panyaza Lesufi Mzwakhe University of Natal branch, because I literally recited Mzwakhe Mbuli's poetry the way they are. So then I fell in love with poetry, drama, and you can't believe it. I took an additional course in speech and drama at the University of Natal. Majority of your major actors and actresses in television now, I studied with them. And until I fell in love with education again, and I went to work for the Department of Education with Minister Nji Motshekga, former MEC, the first actually, MEC Professor Metcalf, and then Nji, until I became the MEC itself for education, and later my responsibilities as the Premier of Gauteng. So.
Before we get on to some of the current politics, your brother, can you tell us, because I actually wasn't aware of the story. Was he recovered?
Yes. He went to Swaziland. From Swaziland, the leadership shipped him to London. He went to study in London as a pharmacist. He's a full pharmacist now.
Brilliant.
But now he's back. I don't know what the apartheid regime did to him. When he came back from exile, he lost interest in politics and worked at the mining. And so he's still leading the mines as part of the professionals within the mining sector. Next time you see him, he looks exactly like me. Actually, many people, when they see him, they think it's me. And when they see me, they think it's him. So I'm indebted to him as well, because I must be honest, when I was studying at the University of Natal, when he arrived in London, the first letter that he sent for me to notify the family that he's fine, it was through the university mailbox. And every time some couple of extra dollars or pounds, he will then send, because the university was much safer with the correspondence than when he sent it direct home. So he's a good brother, actually. Now that I'm in politics full time, family matters, funerals, anniversaries, is the one that organizes on my behalf, because I rarely have time to engage with family members. So.
Well, let's come to some of the issues of the day which tie into that history, because obviously our country's in an interesting place.
Yep.
The ANC, by all accounts and by its own admissions, didn't have the election it wanted to have. I think that's fair to say. And we're now in a moment of coalition politics, different forms of coalition across the country. What are your thoughts on the GNU and where the ANC finds itself in coalition right now?
Well, indeed, the odds were against us. We tried everything as the African National Congress, because I always ask myself, a liberation movement that liberated this country, with so many leaders that sacrificed, with so many leaders that died in prison, so many leaders of impeccable credentials. You can start with Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Winnie Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Madikizela Mandela, Albertina Sisulu. The list is long. that can really this movement be so bad overnight? And you check at the policy positions that we've established. There's no single law in this country that those that led us in parliament didn't do justice. It can be laws about the public protector, laws about the Bill of Rights, laws about BEE, companies, laws about promotion of women. We did everything. And it is the African National Congress did. Then the third area, there's no community that have not been touched by this liberation movement. The new schools, the new clinics, the new roads, the new apartments, new development, the new malls and other things. So why will suddenly this movement lose favor? And people can say corruption, quality of leadership, and many other things. So when we went through the 29th May elections, the outcome was mixed emotions.
I'm sure, yeah.
One, the damage is not as bad. It's bad, but we still have presence of the ANC. But secondly, it's a total rejection. South Africans literally rejected us. But the consoling part is that they rejected us, but preferred the factions of the ANC. You check New Kids on the Block, Bosa. Did they get the votes that they expected? No. Action SA, did they get the votes that they expected? No.
Sure.
Rise Mzansi, did they get the votes that they expected? So we lost the vote, but the votes went to what I call factions of the ANC, which is MK Party, which the leader, even during elections, was saying, I'm still a member of the ANC.
Yeah, sure.
And if you check their votes and you check the votes of EFF, this was a former president of the ANC Youth League.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you combine those, you can see that the votes went within.
Absolutely.
It's just that the factions were now formalized. You can say it's an RAT faction of the ANC, if you want to characterize MK Party, because that's the portion that was pushing for radical economic transformation. And the economic component, you can say that is the EFF, and then you find the ANC.
And that still makes up about 2/3 of the electorate now.
It makes what we say we've lost. So it was just a consoling part.
Sure.
Whether a government of national unity is the best option, the consequences was going to be severe. Just imagine if the ANC didn't say, we want to establish this government of national unity. Under these circumstances, we had a danger where teachers will not be paid because there's no government. We have a danger where doctors will not be paid because there's no government. Patients will not get. So you have to swallow your pride and develop an approach that will make government to function. We know, we're experienced, we know the pain and the price we will pay if there's no government. So I don't think that the leadership of the ANC made a mistake. The debate can be the partners that we brought. But if you're 40%, what do? You can't govern. You can have a minority government, but the experience of local government means that we're going to have lots of vote of no confidence and other things. So I think when the leadership took a decision, therefore, to invite all the political parties that wanted to, and literally bar maybe one political party, all political parties were prepared to work with the ANC. So I think that the government of national unity was inevitable. It was a choice that we needed to embrace. And my only difference is that it's not the end. I see other people see that the government of national unity, it's the end. We have reached our freedom. This is where I don't think so. I differ fundamentally. I really believe that it's a strategic setback, and then we need to prepare the ANC that can govern this country again alone, without any help from any political party. And it is possible, and we must. We must not lose that hope. What we need to do is to fix the areas where South Africans feel that the ANC has let them down. And we all know them, that we need upright leaders, you need a state that can respond to their needs, and you need a state that is not corrupt. And we need to fix those things as quickly as possible, dust ourselves and concentrate on rebuilding an ANC that we can all be proud of. And I'm convinced that the real African National Congress will emerge with the real leaders, with the ethos that made this ANC to be supported by South Africans.
What do you make of alliance partners like the SACP? Its general secretary we had on this show, and I was quite surprised by just how candid Mr. Mapaila was, speaking about how disappointed the SACP was with the decision, particularly to ally with the DA. Of course, you can't make everyone happy in an arrangement like this, but what do you make of that kind of quite public condemnation of this coalition from alliance partners?
He has the right to raise his views. We fought for openness, frankness. He has the right to register his dissatisfaction, because it's only when somebody raises that dissatisfaction that there will be a commitment to listen to them and try to resolve them. But if you want to suppress people's views, those views will go underground, and they're more dangerous when they're underground.
Yeah, sure.
If understand, then we'll use the mechanisms that we have as the alliance to say, let's hear you. Because I don't think that we are all perfect. I don't think that the GNU that we have now, it's perfect to meet our ambitions of a national democratic revolution. It's a setback that will be celebrated by those that hate the ANC. It's a setback that will be utilized by those that hate non-racialism to say we got them. It's a setback that will ensure that the policy positions that we have on various components will be derailed. We have seen that with the BELA bill, something very, very close to my heart. We have seen that with NHI, that because now we are caught within this BELA bill, we'll be reminded we have lost power. Don't just pass laws as if you are still in power. So those limitations, we must be honest, hamper the national democratic revolution, and therefore we need voices that can raise limitations about them and say, no, this is not the way things are. I mean, the removal of the mayor of Tshwane have genuinely exposed and undressed those that believe they've got the birthright to govern. That where we govern, don't touch us. If you touch us, you will see who we are. Forgetting that they themselves, where they govern, they don't want the ANC closer. So GNU has its own limitation, challenges. I've seen people celebrating 100 years. It's an achievement. No one gave us a chance that two competing political parties and many other political parties can establish government and government functions. So it's work in progress where I stand, but it's something that we must not forget, that in the ultimate end, it's not the vehicle that can take us where we want to go. The vehicle that can take us where we want to go is the African National Congress that have recovered from its weaknesses, is the African National Congress that can run this government alone.
Now, in this period of coalition formation, and different things have happened in different metros and municipalities, provinces, and of course nationally, I've been a bit surprised because there's been an attempt to portray you as some kind of quote, and I quote, wedge driver, as a threat to the GNU. Of course, we had Helen Zille recently talking about how you are trying to be the tail that wags the dog. Adrian Basson had this to say. I actually have to read it because I nearly fell off my chair. He said, Ramaphosa needs to take charge and show Lesufi who's the boss. And then effectively said that the Gauteng province must be placed under some kind of administrative leadership. Basically begging Ramaphosa to, I don't know, remove you from Gauteng. How you respond to this narrative that has started to grow around you from some quarters that you are trying to divide the coalition government?
Well, it's during the apartheid, we call it Stratcom. The apartheid regime established a machinery to badmouth or instill fear in white South Africans. So here it's the same script, but different actors. During that period, the apartheid regime said or punted a message of swart gevaar. That black people, if they take over, they will kill your children. Black people, when they take over, they will do all these bad things, drive you to the sea and all other things. Such an extent that on the eve of freedom, some people went into mountains, bought their food to stay there, and stocked food. Immediately after freedom or 1994 breakthrough, they then have this thing called Roy Gevaar. Everything is communist. Communist wants to take over the ANC, and when communists take over the ANC, your property is our property, your food is my food. So they punted that message. And when that message could not succeed, they identified certain leaders of the ANC. They called them hawks or radicals. Chrisani, Joe Slovo, the leader that groomed me, Harry Kwala, Winnie Mandela. And said, no, these ones are good, but these ones, they're bad.
Yeah.
And that's how Chrisani was assassinated. So there were leaders that were labeled as bad leaders in the ANC. So the regime is doing the same with me. They know my view about the BELA bill. They know my view about NHI. They know my view about race. I hate racism with passion, Sisu. I hate it. But I'm addicted to non-racialism. You can't claim, because racists are mindless, useless, poor thinkers, selfish and greedy. They feel everything belongs to them and them alone. Any other person must join on their terms. So you must be this black person that listens to them, dance to their tune. And I'm not that person. I'm not going to do that. I'll never dance to a tune of a white person who's racist in particular. I'll never dance to a tune of somebody who feels that they're superior. I'll never dance to a tune on somebody that feels that they've got the birthright to control our lives and other things. They might have oppressed our grandparents and succeeded. They might have oppressed our parents and succeeded. We tested them and defeated them. And they can't reverse that defeat by wanting to oppress our children and our children's children. It will never happen. And we'll be the last bloc to defend that. Whether they label us the way they want to label us is up to them. But racism is something that cannot be embraced, cannot be negotiated with, and cannot be tolerated. It must be crushed, and crushed mercilessly. We must not tolerate somebody who wants to hide behind the broomstick and say, no, this is my cultural right. I mean, how many cultures do you have? People from Venda, they have their culture. Who disrupted their culture? If they want to practice their culture during their national days, they do that freely in a free South Africa. Why a certain race believe that they must be alone, and they must be them alone, do things alone, take their children to a school alone. Any other culture must not come. If you want to come closer to them, you must make an application in your own country, creating no-go areas in our country. It can be. And if I have to pay the price of insults because I'm standing firm on those views, if I have to pay the price of being recalled by a president because I'm standing firm on that, if I have to be insulted by Zille because I'm standing, let it be. What I know, it's quite clear that some of the media houses are hired guns, that some of the media houses lack the creativity and the analysis and the independence that they're supposed to uphold. And I was not surprised. You must check News 24 or Naspers, the first quarter of the declaration of political funding, who they funded first. They funded the Democratic Alliance. So whatever the Democratic Alliance, we know News 24 will be the publication that must amplify their message. You will check when News 24 was attacking former Deputy President Mashatile, which political party did it go to the Union Building to demand the resignation of? It's the DA. So I'm not worried about hired journalists to attack me or analysts. I mean, you check the last Sunday newspaper, 3 columns in the Sunday Times, one message, this Panyaza Lesufi. And there's no decision that I've taken alone. The decision to establish a government of provincial unity, it was the national office bearers of the ANC who took over the negotiations. They deadlocked with Helen Zille. I was in that meeting. He knows that they deadlocked with our national leadership. And the national leadership gave us the go-ahead to establish government after we've postponed the announcement twice. So why will they openly lie and say that we're establishing the government of provincial unity in Gauteng to spite at national leadership or to demonstrate that we are rogues? We are not.
And it was the same for Tshwane.
It was the same for Tshwane as well.
You got the national go-ahead for that.
Yes. So they are barking at the wrong tree, crying at the wrong funeral, trying to establish whether they can link me to things that they've done worse. I can tell you, shocking things where they're trying to recruit people to say things about me because they feel that there's nothing tangible that they can get to paint. You know, a leader that is not accused of being corrupt in South Africa is not a leader. So they must find a way of dealing with these particular issues. And purely because of the standpoint that they've taken. And Sizwe, we remain strong. The DA is not a branch of the ANC. Helen Zille is not a member of the ANC. And the African National Congress must be given space and time to resolve its internal issues. It can't be pressurized by outsiders, where even a senior editor of a publication have the nerve to instruct our president to say, remove this one. It's not a good black one, this one. Others leave them. They're good black. They're cooperating. Only this one. The apartheid regime undermined my father. The apartheid regime took over my brother. The apartheid regime refused me to choose a career that I loved. The apartheid regime denied my family an opportunity to be a better family because they took somebody who was about to be a breadwinner out of that family. We've gone through pain. But what did we say? We want to live together with you. We didn't say you have oppressed us. We didn't say you have thrown us in homelands. We didn't say you have denied us good education. It's our turn to oppress you. We said, regardless of the pain that we've taken through, we are prepared to stay with you. Those that we say we are prepared to stay with you are showing us the middle finger. Say, according to their culture, they don't want to stay with us, regardless of the pain that they've had. They've killed our brothers in June 16 in Soweto on the basis of language. Today, they want to behave as if they don't know why June 16 was there. It was a language thing that denied us a quality education. But they want to behave the way they want to behave. And they will not find it. They might have oppressed those that have oppressed, but will never oppress our children and our children's children again. And the BELA bill, it's a stamp That cannot be erased. They can want 3 months to negotiate on it. It must be implemented the way it is, and no one must tamper with that particular. It was passed unanimously by Parliament, and it must be respected if they want to respect the law. They can't say we must respect private property clause of our constitution, but they don't want to respect the right of Parliament to pass a law and that law to be implemented. And they are now mobilizing literally everyone to denounce us, thinking that by demonizing us, the BELA bill will not be executed. We are watching them, and they must know we are children of Oliver Tambo, children of Winnie Mandela, and children of Harry Gwala. We are not easily intimidated, and there's no enemy that thinks that they can do as they wish. We fought for this country, we'll defend this country, and no one will force apartheid or racist legislation through our throats. They can use culture as a smokescreen. Reality is that they are racist, they are greedy, and they are not even prepared to live with fellow South Africans, but they want the tax of fellow South Africans to only be concentrated to their children. It will never happen. Those schools belongs to all of us. Those schools belongs to all our children, and our children have the right to enter those schools and go and play football or play whatever they want to play in those particular schools. There is no school that is an enclave in this country. And we must not tolerate people that think that they can intimidate us by bad press. They can intimidate us by hiring analysts to write bad about us. They can intimidate us by singling us out and labeling us as rogues. We can be rogues, but non-racialism will be firm and will defend it.
Fam, you asked for some SMWX merch, and we have delivered. I know you're always looking for ways to help support and grow this channel, so why don't you buy yourself an SMWX hoodie? Super comfy, super warm, and you can represent SMWX. You can check the link down below for how to buy your SMWX hoodie and help build and grow this channel so we can bring you more interviews, more analysis, and more educational insights. Now let's get back to it. I wish we could have you for the whole day, but I want to end because I know you've got your time is at a premium. But if I can indulge one more question that I've been very interested in, I don't know how much you'll divulge, but I did a video which was quite popular recently, and I was looking at the future of South Africa, and it was about, obviously, President Ramaphosa is the ANC leader until 2027, and I was looking at who's the next ANC leader, and I mentioned some names. I mentioned your name at the end, but the people in the comments were not happy because they said I didn't mention you prominently enough, and I was quite taken aback because then on Twitter everyone said, "How can you not say Lesufi won't be the next president? How can you not say that?" What would you say to?
I'm not keen.
You're not keen?
I'm not keen.
You're not keen. But people are keen.
I'm still wet behind my ears. And I don't think that to transform this country, you need to be a president. I'm of the view that there's a generation before us that must lead this country. Our time will come at the right moment. That there's leadership that must take us to the next. But that leadership must not have a carte blanche. And that leadership must know that will not tolerate things that will not make the African National Congress to be what is it. What I can say, and which unfortunately you said when we started this, you don't know who will be in the bad books after this. I can say that to rule out the possibilities of working with those that were in the battle trenches with them, it will be short-sightedness. That there is an urgent need for us to bring everyone as we wanted to bring, but you bring those that share ideology with you.
Sure.
You bring those that are closer to the situation that we're in. You bring those that fully understand where we are. And the ability of white people. You know the article when BELA bill was written, one Sunday newspaper says that the leader of the DA, John Steenhuisen, called President Ramaphosa, and it sounded like he instructed him to call the leader of AfriForum and Solidarity. And the president is quoted there that he called and the call was not picked up. And this person returned the call of the president and rudely asked the president, "Who are you?" When he heard the voice, that is a black person.
Sure.
So clearly, the DA is working with AfriForum. Clearly, the DA is working with Solidarity. Clearly, the DA is working with these conservative political parties. But what they do now, a leader like myself or people like myself say, no, DN is EFF. This one is MK. And they then characterize that as a doomsday relationship. But that relationship must be left untouched with AfriForum that went to court to defend an apartheid flag.
And that's not doomsday either, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. So the short-sightedness of some of our leaders to believe that the DA, Freedom Front, Solidarity, AfriForum love us. I don't know where it comes from. And that if they love us, we must hate EFF, we must hate MK, we must hate other political parties purely because they feel much better when they are united and we must feel otherwise when we are divided. And I'm saying we must enter that era and find a way of having leaders that can lead us to consolidate and ensure that we work together with those that share our aspirations.
Absolutely.
AZAPO is still there. The PAC is still there. And the need for us to say on the eve of the establishment of the freedom that we enjoy now in 1994, the ANC leadership at that time established something called the Patriotic Alliance. They even brought Bantustan leaders to say, on the basis that you understand where we come from, how do we work together to defeat those that wants to take us back? It can't be right at that time and be wrong now with the political parties that are there. So the sooner, open-mindedly, engage and defend what we think is right, non-racialism, defend what is right, transformation, defend what is right, economic freedom, defend what is right, our land to come back. We can't be narrow in our approach and think that those battles can only be fought and be defended only within the ANC. But to remain in government, we'll want these people to assist us to remain in government. The power lies with those that share our ideology, our aspiration, and those that understand the pain and the frustration of our people, the poverty of our people, the unemployment that our people are going through. That is it not time that we find a vehicle or a mode that can assist us to build this solid front that can defend our children, so that our children must not go through the pain I've gone through, that our children must not be challenged for their existence, and our children must not be told that we belong to a different culture, I belong to a different culture, we can't be in the same school. That's the kind of energy and space I want to spend, rather than spend my energy to say I want to be a leader of a country or a leader of a political party. Let others lead us there. We will invest in ensuring that we defend what we committed to do when we were detained, when we're still in our teenage years. I was denied my years to go to a nightclub. I was denied years to fall in love with people at an early stage. I was denied that opportunity. I can't deny that to my children. And that's my belief. So any other person that, and I've seen many people is ambitious, want to be a president, want to, they are barking at the wrong tree and crying at the wrong funeral. My standpoint is that there is a generation before us and there are leaders that can take us to the next stage. I'm still wet behind my ears, and I really believe that there are proper leaders that can take us to the next stage of our revolution.
Well, Premier Lesufi, thank you for sharing your insights with us and for getting into trouble with us. We really appreciate.
But thanks for the opportunities.
Yeah, we appreciate the work you do, and you're an important voice in our country. So.
And I must say this: my team knows Sizwe is here. I hold you in high esteem, even were requested to come here is because we are an open-minded person that allows, it's not those that are hired to insult us, and those that can't give us an opportunity to explain the way you have done. And you're first journalist, if I can say so, that I've even shared my personal life like we did today. So
we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And it was an important story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching. Like, share, comment down below.
And subscribe here. Click here and make sure that you subscribe. Oi, oi.
Yeah.